I'm Mara Grunow, Executive Director at the Center for Suicide Prevention. And today we're going to talk about what to do when there's someone in your life for whom you're worried. So what do we do if we're worried about someone at risk of suicide, and how do we even know if they're at risk? So this is a really common question that we get asked. And while there are some things that are, generally speaking, commonalities amongst people who are considering suicide, it's important to know that each person is different. And this is a time when our uniqueness maybe isn't overly helpful when it comes to assessing suicide risk. And so the most important thing to do is to have a trust relationship with the people around us so that we can have authentic conversations all the time, not just at a point of crisis. And the reason why that's important is because the more we can check in with each other, the more we can know how we're doing kind of on a regular day-to-day basis. And that might make it easier in a way to know when things have changed. So back to the commonalities. What are some of those common things? Often when people are considering suicide, they'll make offhanded, kind of callous remarks like, doesn't matter anyways, or I don't have long for this world, or I am such a burden to everybody. Doesn't really matter. You'd be better off without me. Now, we may think, people say those things and they're just joking. But think about it for a moment. Do people really joke like that? Is that something that your people say to you? Is that something you say? More often than not, those statements have something behind them. Ask. They're an invitation for you to say, what do you mean by that? Or like, kind of harsh, like, what are you getting at? Probe and take the opportunity to really push the person to explain what they mean. Another sort of common thing that people may do if they're considering suicide is they may start to just lose interest in themselves, in their appearance, in their upkeep. And now remember, this is a change in their behavior. So it's not like they go from being all well-groomed all the time to very, disheveled. I mean, it has to be a change on their trajectory. But maybe they're not taking as good a care of themselves as they once did. Also, back, to build on that, look for changes in behavior in general. Again, this isn't necessarily from good to bad. Maybe people are in a not great space to start with, but you can still see a change in how they're behaving. Maybe it's a change in substance usage. Maybe it's a change in irritability. Maybe it's a change in overall affect. But looking for changes is often a key. When you see any of these kinds of things, there are invitations to ask, and ask directly. Hey, you're not yourself these days. Like, you're really touchy, or you seem to react to everything, or wow, like, you're really argumentative. Everything I say, you kind of jump on. What's going on? That's not like you. Be as specific as you possibly can. And if the person, really is going through thoughts of suicide, you want to keep the conversation going. Oh, no, it's nothing. Never mind. Oh, okay. Well, I want you to know I care about you. You're important to me, or you're an integral member of the team. And it's affecting others and it seems to be affecting you. I want to do something that can be helpful. What is helpful to you at this time? Try to engage them with as many open-ended questions as you can. Once they've been able to kind of unload some of what they're going through, ask about suicide directly. Oh, well, now that you've explained all that, like, that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. I can appreciate why you're feeling, and fill in the blank for them, irritable, miserable, overwhelmed. Sometimes when people are feeling this way, they're thinking of suicide. Are you thinking of suicide? It's really helpful to say the word. It's really helpful to ask it in a way that all the other person has to do is say yes or no. Now, you may be thinking, no one's ever going to admit to that. You may be surprised. Research shows that if a person is considering suicide, And if you ask them directly and they feel that there's a trust relationship between you, they will say yes. They want to unload that burden. Let's just stop for a moment and think about, how does a person get to a point of considering suicide? Typically, it's not the result of one big bad thing. It is almost always a combination of risk factors, we would call them, or a combination of negative things happening for the person that, when taken together, brings the person to a point of considering suicide. It's like when they've experienced many bad things, they become overwhelmed, and overwhelmed by psychological pain or burdensomeness. And as that pain intensifies, their vision constricts. And so they can't see any way out of their pain except through death. So this is really important. It's not that they want to die, it's that they want out of the situation. They can't see how they can go forward any longer. And that distinction is important because that shows, or kind of gives an insight into why intervention works. If you ask someone directly about suicide, it helps them because they want out. They don't want to die. And so if you give them an offer of help, they'll take it. So back to the conversation. You've asked them if they are thinking of suicide. They've said yes. Now what do you do? Well, if you're normal, you'll probably panic, but you're probably panicking anyways. Asking the question is really, really hard. So try to remain calm. Try to explore options with them. Start by thanking them for being honest. Wow, that's really heavy. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate your honesty. Tell me a bit more about what's going on, and give them an opportunity to unload. Once that's over, again, try to not judge. Try to not come in and problem solve. Sometimes when people tell us the reasons that they're thinking of suicide, we think, oh my God, that's your issue? Okay, don't do that, because that's not well received. For them, it's the whole world. It may look very different from your point of view, but your point of view is not important because it's all about them at this point. So don't solve their problem. Don't even try to. Instead, empathize and say things like, that's a lot. What if we call the distress center together? What if we call the crisis line together and see what options there are? You can call 211 in Alberta, and the people on the line will answer 24/7, any time of the day or night, and they will help connect your person with the community resources they need. Now, if the person is considering suicide and they have a plan and it is imminent, they plan to put it into place right away, then you may need to call 911. But most of the time, you can call 211, and community service people will be there able to help. Because often people just need an opportunity to unload, and they need to know that there's support available to help them with the next few steps.